After 3 years of Whoop, I almost spent €1,000 on a fitness tracker. And that got me thinking, what else is there on the market for €1,000? And there I came up with the Garmin Epix 2. So in this video, I will compare the two and see which one has to go. What are we actually comparing here? Let's start with the Whoop. According to their website, it's a personalized 24/7 fitness and health coach. The Garmin Epix Gen 2 is a smartwatch with high durability and built-in GPS, which makes it really popular under hikers, cyclists, and runners. So why have I chosen to compare these two? Well, when you look, for example, at an Apple Watch Ultra, which also comes in this price range, that's more like a smartwatch on your wrist. And I was looking to get some more detailed health stats, like you get with the Whoop, with the recovery system, the HRV measurements, sleep tracking, and stuff like that is really much better on the Garmin than on the Apple Watch because their focus is on that, and the focus of the Apple Watch is more on the smartwatch side of things. So that's why I chose to compare these two. Physical design and features. Of course, the main big difference between these two fitness trackers is the fact that the Garmin has a big watch screen and the Whoop doesn't. So that comes with advantages on both sides. The Whoop does not feel really premium, but is really comfortable. The Garmin, on the other hand, with its sapphire glass and titanium, feels really premium. But on the other hand, also, the Whoop is able to be worn in all other kinds of accessories like underwear, shirts, and stuff like that, which makes it more suitable, for example, close contact sports, where big watches like a Garmin can really hurt the other person. I think both brands are pretty good looking trackers, each on their own way. The Garmin looks a bit more rugged, and the Whoop has some sort of stylized thing about it. It's some sort of coolness around it. Also, there's for both a lot of custom looks for the devices. The Whoop you can get in different color and all kinds of bands, and for Garmin the same. You have leather bands, you have all kinds of colors, titanium bands. There's a lot of customization possible for both trackers. What are they tracking? Well, both devices are pretty comparable in what they're tracking. They're tracking heart rate, HRV, sleep, respiratory rate, and some other stuff like that. But the key difference is not in what they're tracking, but in how they are presenting it. So if we look at the Whoop, you see that the app is focused around sleep, strain, and recovery. Sleep is obvious. Strain is the load of the day that you log with training and stuff like that. And your recovery score is based on previous day's sleep and training. And what you see at the side of Garmin is that they have this thing called a training readiness score. And that training readiness score is a combination and a summary of the stuff I mentioned from the Whoop, like sleep, training load the previous day, sleep history, and all combined into one stat, which shows as training readiness. And what I also noticed at Garmin side is that they, for example, also have a stat for a 5K run, which is really, of course, focused around running. Which one is the better tracker? Let's start with the sleep. I wore both trackers for 2 weeks and logged the results. And here you see that overall, if you look at the quality of the tracking, both devices are pretty much the same. Where you see that the Whoop or the Garmin has 1 day less of good tracking, which represents the crosses. On the other hand, I see that the Whoop is better at tracking light sleep. So for example, when you wake up in the morning for the first time and you fall back to sleep again, that's where the Garmin thinks that you woke up, and where the Whoop will track another few moments of sleep. So I think overall, the Whoop here at sleep has a slight advantage over the Garmin. If we look at recovery scores versus body battery or training readiness, those are Garmin's versions of recovery, where body battery is more of an overall state and training readiness is more of a state that tells you if you're ready to train or not. You see that both devices have overall the same scores. There's not a big difference, and you see that, yeah, it's pretty similar. And when we look at HRV measurements, there you see that both devices are almost identical at tracking HRV. One slight advantage I think the Garmin has over the Whoop is that the training you log directly impacts the recovery score. So when you log a training, you directly see the body battery and training readiness going down. As for the Whoop, recovery score stays the same when you log a workout and only changes next day after you wake up. I think the real-time recovery score is really valuable to have. And then other downside, I think, which is a personal preference, is that on a Garmin you can start the workout from your watch. And when you go running, you don't need to take your phone with you. You have your watch and everything is on there. As for the Whoop, you will always need your phone with you. When you need to start logging a workout, you need to grab your phone, which personally I don't think is a really nice experience. Another thing I think which Garmin has a slight advantage over is the advices it gives on your training readiness and on your sleep. As for the Whoop, they are pretty generic, saying you had not enough REM sleep, you may be tired, or that you are ready to take on a strain that day. The Whoop takes it up a level and says really detailed things like a training on the day before impacting your sleep history not being good, making you more tired, really more detailed advice, which personally that's something I would look for in a fitness tracker, that they advise me based on the data. User experience. If we look at the user experience, the Whoop really nails it. They really have the end user in mind. If you look at packaging, from charging, from looking at the app, it's all really user friendly. When you want to charge it, you don't have to take it off, you just put the charger on the Whoop while you are wearing it. It's magnetic, so it can even charge underwater. Those kinds of small things really help keeping the user in mind. I did um, notice some bugs here and there, but that's what you have with these trackers sometimes. But it can be really frustrating. For example, when a workout is stuck or sleep is not tracked. No, it's not the end of the world, but it's just a little bit of a pain to all get it back together again. One thing I think about the Whoop, which is really nice, is that it also has this coolness factor around it. So when you're wearing a Whoop, it just looks cool. People ask you, "Hey, what is this?" And it just has this cool thing about it. So when you look at user experience, I think that's also a really big plus for the Whoop. And if we look at the Garmin, like I mentioned before, one big plus is that you can do everything you want from the watch. You won't need your phone. You can read all the data you want from the watch. You can log your workouts from the watch. You can take your headphones with you and just go running because you can listen to the music from your watch. It's, I think, personally a big plus. One downside maybe is that for some people, it might be a pretty big, bulky watch. For example, when you go to sleep, it's not really as comfortable as, for example, the Whoop. Comparing the companion apps, when you look at the data of the Whoop, it seems pretty empty to me. There are a lot of sport profiles which you can choose from, but in the end, it all is just a heart rate graph and some other extra stats around heart rate. It's where you look at the Garmin. It's a really detailed breakdown of your workload and all kinds of other data specifically tailored to the kinds of training you did, which is really nice. The advice uh, the Whoop gives is oftentimes a little bit generic, as for the Garmin, it's more opinionated. For the Whoop, you see, for example, 25% of your time was spent in REM sleep. This might indicate that your body is making up for not getting enough REM sleep recently. As for the Garmin, it says you slept long enough, but your body did not recharge very well. As a result, you may tire more easily today. So that's, I think, really practical and clear advice which I can take into account. I think another big downside of the Whoop is that it has no screen. And yeah, the fact that it looks cool, yeah, is a big sacrifice for the screen. And also, I think the battery life on both devices is really good. And I think on the Whoop, it can be a little bit better since it doesn't have a screen. And as you look at the Garmin, there are even three kinds of recovery scores instead of just one. There's a body battery, there's a training readiness, and an overall training status summary. And they are all updated real time throughout the day. And if you log a workout, it will impact those stats immediately. Something that the Garmin doesn't have but is unique to the Whoop is their daily journal. That's where you answer a specific set of questions you can choose. Those are not with an opinion, they're unopinionated. You can ask stuff like do you do intermittent fasting? Do you take multivitamins? Did you work late? And you answer those questions with a yes or a no. And after a few days of logging, the Whoop will see the impact it has on your recovery, which is pretty nice. And it can, for example, advise you on saying that going to bed late and working late has a bad impact, working from home has a good impact, intermittent fasting has a bad impact. So that's stuff you can see when the journal of the Whoop, which I think is a pretty neat feature. What I think is good on the Garmin is that they have this full-fledged GPS navigation map on it. So when you then maybe get lost or you want to go for a long hike, you can just use the map, which is pretty cool. Both watches have a stress meter, which I think is a pretty cool feature as well. Both have guided breathing exercises, but the Whoop has guided breathing exercises in collaboration with Andrew Huberman, which of course is, yeah, pretty cool, and the Garmin cannot beat that. Another cool feature on the Whoop is that it can wake you up when you are recovered. So you can set an alarm clock and it will wake you up maybe a bit earlier than you're used to, but it can sense that you are recovered and you're ready to wake up. This is a really cool feature which I haven't seen on any other smartwatch or fitness tracker yet. We reached the end of this video and it's time for a conclusion. I'm still wearing both, but one has to go. And I'm sorry, Whoop, but it's time for you to go. It's a really nice fitness tracker which I've been using for over 3 years. The app is really nice. The interface is really nice. It's really comfortable, but the 30 euros a month does not justify it for me anymore. And I've seen all the stuff the Garmin can do on the app, on the watch. Um, yeah, I think there the Whoop really falls short for me. Also, I don't like the experience that I have to grab my smartphone for everything I want to see and track. So here on this Garmin, I can do it just from the watch. I really like that experience. And also, it's just a one-time fee. So here you look at one of the higher end Garmins, but if you look at a lower end Garmin, like for example, a Forerunner, which is much cheaper, there you only have like 10 months of Whoop membership. It's just a one-time fee, and you have all the features that the Garmin Epic Gen 2 have, which also are really comparable to the Whoop, and sometimes even a bit better in my opinion. So this is my conclusion. I won't be using this one anymore, and I will stay with the Garmin. And if you look out on this channel, I will post a review on the Garmin Epix Gen 2 pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. If you like this video, then please don't forget to like and subscribe. That really helps out the channel and I appreciate it a lot. And down in the comments, let me know, are you using a Whoop? Are you using a Garmin? Maybe are you using an Apple Watch? Let me know what you're using and what you think about it. And also, if you want a review on another fitness tracker, let me know that in the comments and I might just have a look.